It's Gunward time, welcome back to another video. So this is Return to Karazhan, a 5-player mythic only dungeon, but it might just as well be called a 5-man raid in my opinion. This is not gonna be a guide through the boss's mechanics, lots of people have already done that. What I wanna do is to give my personal opinion about the dungeon, because I really enjoy it. The dungeon is kind of split up into two sections. In the first you're venturing through the classic Karazhan, dealing with the opera event, maiden, etc. What I find really exciting is that the bosses are certainly no cakewalk. They have mechanics and you need to follow them. Take Maiden for example. She will put crap on the floor during the fight. You might think you're just supposed to avoid it, but then you are doing it clearly wrong. Because then when she casts her repentance, you will need to have stood in it for a dot to break the stun. And then she starts casting a super hard hitting AoE, which will most likely wipe your group. That needs interrupting. So you see, lots of the bosses require something like that, and I think Blizzard really outdid themselves with the bosses, for the most part. The second part of Karazhan is more wild and crazy. Things being flipped up and down, shrunken in size, and generally being all over the place. Then you have Shade of Medivh, who's like a nice little throwback to the old Shade of Aran. This is a fight that requires a nice little interrupt rotation to make it work, and that flame wreath is still wrecking people from what I've noticed. But once you get to the part where you are shrunken down, you will really start noticing how much effort Blizzard has put into the looks of this dungeon. In my opinion, it looks spectacular. And then just the small things, pun not intended, like fighting a boss, which is in fact just an ordinary ad. But when you're the size of a mosquito, everything becomes a boss. And then further in you have a throwback to the old chess event, which doesn't work like it at all. This is kind of the only part of the dungeon I didn't get. What is it really here for? It doesn't add anything interesting and it certainly doesn't involve any chess mechanics. Well, apart from the way the pieces move, I guess. Once again, the look of the room before the last boss is ever so amazing and I applaud Blizzard. And then of course we have the last boss, which is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best final boss of any dungeon ever. It involves multiple exciting phases, lots of moving around and dodging stuff, and interrupting. In theory it's not extremely hard, but it's super easy to screw up. Then let's talk hidden stuff. I know some people have already made videos of this, but I just needed to mention it. The first time you go in there you're gonna have a quest to click these glowing stones. You might think that there's nothing more to it, but oh yes it is. You see, when you start collecting them, it starts a little timer on that player. This means that player needs to click all 5 of them. If he manages to die, don't let him release spirit, just go rest him, since I think you can lose the stacks otherwise. This hidden objective may require a little bit of gear, so keep that in mind. But what do you get from doing all of this? Why, you get to fight Nightbane, another nostalgic boss. He basically works just like he did back in TBC times, and is certainly no easy fight if you're going in without a plan. He has the chance to drop a very cool mount, so there's always that. Overall, I think Blizzard has made an outstanding job with this dungeon. Probably one of the best dungeons in recent memory for me, and a lot of people I've spoken to thinks that as well. It brought back heavy nostalgia for an old TBC player like me, and at the same time brought in so much new stuff for everyone to enjoy. Just the fact that this dungeon took our group, which pretty much was everyone's first time there, over 2 hours to clear says a lot, and I think Blizzard should really consider making these types of dungeons more often. I know Blizzard generally don't like to make these type of mega dungeons, since it's often ill received by players. I guess it reminds them of like the old Blackrock depths or something. But also everyone doesn't have the patience or time to just sit there and play 2+ hours and wanna be done quickly. It was a huge risk, but it looks like it paid off. And yeah, of course, with better gear, some mechanics do get a lot easier and faster. Although it's great to see that most of the bosses can be completed anyway, if you just make sure everyone knows what to do. Which is how it should be, in my opinion. I've never seen a group feel so fulfilled as ours did. It actually felt like completing a raid. So that's my personal opinion about Return to Karazhan. I know it was a little short and brief, but I feel like I went over the points I wanted to cover. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to assault the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Gunward out!